Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome to the Christian County Library's Board of Trustees meeting. If anybody needs tonight's meeting agenda, it can be found in the table by the door. All right, okay, sorry, gotta get my head into this, I'm sorry. All right.
He's 16.
Oh, yay! Okay. Now I don't
Away from home, he was already off for the day. From his house. Yes. The dedication of our library team.
Okay. It's 6:01 p.m. for the start of the meeting. All right. Is there a motion? Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda and discussed individually?
I don't have any.
I don't see any.
No? Okay. All right.
The year-to-date budget, that's an error on my part. That's not actually in there. So
Okay.
that was left over from last month.
Okay, so eliminate E.
Yes,
Yes,
that's not
thank you.
in
Okay.
existence.
All right. Well then, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, striking E from the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, then we'll do a roll call vote. Trustee Alexander?
Aye.
Trustee Brazil?
Aye.
Trustee Hagan?
Aye.
Trustee Sisinski?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to the administrative highlights, the summer reading challenge.
I've asked Dana, our Director of Youth Services, to present this. We just wrapped up the Summer Reading Challenge at the end of July, so she's going to give an overview of all of that.
All the fun we had this summer, right? So hello, my name's Dana. For those that haven't gotten to meet in person yet, I'm the Director of Youth Services. I'm going to be talking about Summer Reading Challenge today. Our summer reading theme was all together now this summer. The theme was community, kindness, togetherness. And next slide, please. How the Summer Reading Challenge works is every year, patrons will register through our Beanstack app and earn points by logging minutes, activities, events, and writing book reviews. And by earning points, they earn prizes. So the tagline we always have is earn 500 points, you get your prizes. So for kids, we have a free book and a coupon book. That's their base prize at 500 points. And then for adults, they just get a free book. Sorry, I know adults really want the coupon book, right? You can't have it. They always want that free cookie, but they can't have it. And also at 500 points, they get the ticket to enter prize drawings. So the prize drawings are the really big ticket items that everybody really wants to win. And then every 500 points after that, they earn another ticket. They get chances to earn tickets as well by completing activity tracks, like by reading books of a certain genre, or doing challenges like that. And then also during the summer, we have our special summer presenters and guests. Next slide, please. Thank you. So our overall statistics that we have this year, we had total 2,136 registered readers. Those are patrons or any age children. They could be teens, they could be babies actually as well. Those are everyone who registered on Beanstack to do the challenge this year. And I love to see that kind of number because the whole point of summer is just to keep kids reading through the entire summer until they get back into whatever education setting that they are going into in the fall. We had 510 book reviews that were written and over 16,000 activities completed. That's definitely up from last year, from about 13,000 activities completed. So we had a little bit of a different system with our babies. Last year, they can only complete an activity once, like rocking a baby to sleep or reading a book before bedtime. This year, we made all of the baby activities repeatable because I'm not sure if anyone's ever read to a baby before, but it's like 1 minute and then you're done. So and then you just do that over and over and over again. So we made those activities repeatable to really encourage the repeating factor of spending that time with your child. And then we had a little over 2.8 million minutes logged this summer. I told Renee midway through summer I had like a special secret goal of like, if we can get to 2 million minutes, I'll be so happy. But we got 2.8, and that is up from last year where we were at 2.7 million. And that's even more impressive because we cut summer reading by 2 weeks in order to make it 8 weeks total or 2 months to reflect all of our seasonal challenges are 2 months long. And then of course I had to include your little circle graph sorry, can you go back one more time? I had to include the graph of the different branches, breaking down how the registration broke down by branch. That isn't completely accurate by like circulation standards. It's whatever branch patrons put into Beanstack as their home branch. Next slide, please. All right, and this is a breakdown of all of our readers by age group. So I don't need to read all of these out, but 231 babies, 1,067 kids, 197 teens, and 641 adults. I'm very proud that adult registrations and completions increase every year because I'm a big believer in children will reflect what their parents do. So if the parents or the child sees their parent reading, the kids will want to read themselves, so we like to incentivize adults to read just the same as kids. So that's increasing every year. Next slide, please. And then this graph will show a very basic overview of where we are with registration, completion, and prizes redeemed from 2020 to this summer. So in 2020, we had that big dip from COVID and being shut down. We couldn't have any presenters, we couldn't have any special story times in person, we were just shut down. And then it's risen every year since then. And this summer, we took a dip of about like 3 to 5% based on all those numbers. But that makes sense to me because we did cut summer by 2 weeks. But our overall minutes and engagement are still the same. Next. And then these are all the activities that were made on Beanstack. So on Beanstack, we'll have an activity badge, such as the games badge this summer. There was an activity for every age group for games that encouraged playing a game outside, look up old field games, ask someone in your family who's older than you what kind of games they played outside and try it out. I like to encourage that family involvement. So we had, sorry, there's a little bit of a glare, 5,059 baby activities completed, a little over 6,500 kids, 1,000 teen, and 4,000 adult activities. So they're really liking the activity badges on Beanstack. And then minutes read, this is just an overview of where we're at as far as minutes read. It's increased every year. And then I had to throw in a couple pictures of the princesses that we had visit this summer. Next slide, please. These are our coupon book sponsors this year. We added in the Mud House, which is a new coffee shop in Ozark. They threw in a free mini cookie with any purchase. We're really excited to partner with us, and so we're looking forward to that continuing next year. Where the Wild Things play, if any of you have little bitty kids, they're an amazing facility, similar to, what's that one facility called for Springfield? Itty Bitty
Legendary.
City. Thank you, Itty Bitty City. There's a lot of names in my head right now. So, Where the Wild Things play is a really fun location that your kids can go explore and imagine and create with all kinds of toys. And then we have our prize baskets. This is not all of our prize baskets, but I wanted to show you a couple pictures of our winners. We have a baby winner here and one of our teen winners of the big prizes. It won't shock anybody to know that our most popular prize for kids and teens was our Nintendo Switch. I know, it's shocking. And then our most popular prize for the adults was our night out gift cards. So that was a gift card to Finley River Farms as well as B&B Theater. So it's kind of like an all-in-one night you could go do out with your significant other or your family, whoever you wanted to. We had 1,593 tickets just in that prize pack. And if you look at like the photo printer, there was 400. So the photo printer had 400. The gift cards had 1,500 tickets in there. So we will look at those numbers for next year to see what we can add into our prize packs, what can we do that will be similar or maybe change it up, but still offer something similar. Next one. All right, and then we're going to get into the programs. As an overview, this summer we hosted 179 library programs. And so a program is an individual event. So each story time that we do is counted as a program. Every presenter is a program. We had 179 of those, and we had 3,400 attendees. So just the library programs this summer. Out of those 3,400, 1,300 was just in our story times. So that was 52 story times we did this summer in the Youth Services Department. And I can tell you, it was a busy summer. So I'm going to go over a couple fun programs that we had, just to highlight just the fun things we did. We had, next slide please. The 417 princesses came. We had Belle, Mirabelle, and Rapunzel visiting our branches. We had many families that came just to see them or go to every single event. We had had 3 different fire safety events this summer. We had one in Ozark, Nixa, and Clever. We weren't able to get one for Sparta, but hopefully next year we'll be able to get that scheduled. And the kids were able to learn a lot of really great things about fire safety. These pictures are specifically from the Clever Fire Protection District. These are all volunteers. The Clever Fire District is all volunteer run. And I can tell you, they took the time to really give each child individual attention. It was amazing watching them practice crawling on the ground, touching the door, and many adults at every single one of these programs went home with homework of smoke alarms and finding a safe place outside to meet in case there is an emergency. The next slide. And we had animals. Okay, we had so many animals this summer, and our zoo programs with the Dickerson Park Zoo are some of our most attended. This year we had beautiful birds, creepy crawlies, animals of Australia, One World Many Animals, endangered species, and 2 instances of Partners in Survival, which was their special program just for summer to meet the summer reading theme of All Together Now. That's a national theme that many libraries can opt into, so we opt into that, and they do a special program just for that. So out of the 7, we had 443 people attending just the animals. I think I like the owl the best. It's a really great picture. Next slide, please. We had music, so we were able to branch out into some fun musical programs this summer. Mike Anderson is also known as the Dulcimer Guy. You probably heard him. He's in Toy Story 2, actually. If you hear the horse, I forgot his name, Bullseye. Well, that's Mike and Nancy. Awesome. I just want to give a little snippet of that. Is Mike and Nancy. They're a local music group. They will often be over at Silver Dollar City or working at Renaissance fairs. They did a great job of giving some examples of music from, it's not a forgotten time, but it's kind of rare to hear that kind of music nowadays. Kids got to play with their spoons, learn how to play spoons. It was really great, and we got a lot of requests for them to come back next year. And the Dulcimer Guy, Mike Anderson, also did some adult music events. The Music of the Civil War was a great program we had at Ozark, and then at Nixa we had an adult program that was just for dulcimer music. So, and he does do the clopping of the hooves of Bullseye in Toy Story 2. So he talks about that. He did a really great job. Next slide, please. And then we have magic. We have to have the magicians come. If you do not know our local magician, his name is Marty Hahn. He does an amazing job. Our staff and the kiddos just love him. He gives really engaging performances, and I can tell you, I see magic every year. I probably see more kids in magic shows than a lot of adults, especially because I don't have my own children. But he has a great way of just engaging with the audience, and the kids are just locked onto him. You know, for a lot of adults as well in the audience, we're laughing right alongside and gasping and how do you do that kind of thing. Next slide. And then we had for adults, we had yoga and Tai Chi that continued. Yoga continued through the summer. Yoga had 126 people and Tai Chi had 54. So we had a lot of movement as well this summer. Next slide. And we had the Stay Strong, Stay Healthy program, which was a connection with the University of Missouri's Extension Office. They had 15 registered attendees, and I believe 8 or 9 of them continued throughout the weeks that we had the event with the University of Missouri. This was from their report that they sent to us. The participant quotes were directly from the Missouri State Extension Office. Next slide, please. And then we have Uncovering History, the Sparta Cemetery. This is our ongoing grave cleaning program. This one was hosted at the Sparta branch, or at the Sparta area, excuse me. And you can see the before and after photos of some of the work that they've been doing. And we have partnerships. We've expanded our partnerships even more this summer. We hosted events with the James River Basin Partnerships where kids got to learn more about their local watershed and water runoff and how we can prevent that from happening, keeping our water system healthy. We met with Christian County Ambulance District who gave away bike helmets and talked about bike safety and the importance of wearing a helmet when biking, or really just anything if you're on wheels. And then the Nixa One Read, partnering with the city of Nixa, the Nixa Parks, and with the Nixa schools. We had 143 people here at our kickoff event. There was 165 copies of Wonder given away, and 92 people came to all of our book discussions about Wonder here at the library. So definitely a big success. That's the end of my summer reading report. And I just want to tell you, look forward to fall into reading. Our next one is coming up very soon. And you'll see that on Beanstack very, very soon. We have prizes like a pumpkin spice basket. We've got a camping set. And we also have a grill set. It's a travel grill, like a collapsible one, and we'll have charcoal with it as well, and some little grill tools. And the camping set has a tent, as well as a lantern, a sleeping mat, and a first aid kit. And the pumpkin spice kit has, pumpkin spice stuff. Any questions for me?
It's just so nice that you're so busy now compared to back when we were all so isolated.
Yeah, it was a very busy summer, but I can tell you this is the busiest summer that I've seen since 2019, I would say. I saw the rooms completely full again, the zoo program's completely full. So I rate this, like a 10 out of 10, successful summer reading. Yeah.
Oh, I did want to add,
Yes.
the social media, I think, coverage of the summer reading program was really great as well. And I know, particularly the zoo, it seemed like anytime there were the animals, that really generated. It must just be in my algorithm, but I'm sure there's algorithms as well. It really popped up, and it was just always so good.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. We do work really hard to make sure we're promoting all of our fun activities, and I definitely was taking a lot of pictures this summer. So, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. New business is setting the 2023 tax levy. The law provides for a public hearing, and we will give an opportunity for public comment on that topic shortly. I'm going to let Renee give an overview of the tax levy so you guys have all of that information, and then we'll kind of move on from there.
So this page you have here,
Sorry, it's up there
Okay.
too if you need to see the numbers.
these numbers are all provided by the county clerk. So it has last year's numbers as well as this year. So our voted tax levy is 20 cents. But it's been rolled back a couple times, and that has happened again this year because of something called the Hancock Amendment. So this is an amendment to the Missouri Constitution that basically if the property values increase at a rate more than the consumer price index, or 5%, whichever is less, then your levy is rolled back. So there's a calculation that the state auditor sends that shows what's the maximum increase that you can have, and then they do the math and tell us what the maximum that you can set the levy at. So last year it was set at 0.1875. This year the highest is 0.1861. So if you set it at 0.1861, that's per $100 of assessed valuation. Then our revenue from property taxes will be $3,363,586 approximately. That doesn't take into account if there are delinquent taxes that get paid and then there's penalties. That doesn't take into account if no one pays their property taxes, et cetera. So it's just an estimate. But that is, compared to last year, last year's was $3,059,000 approximately estimated. There's, we had about $100,000 of that difference between last year's and this year's is new property, new construction in the county. So that isn't taken into account when it's determined whether or not we've maxed out our increase. So the actual, because this was an assessment year, the actual increase in values was 5.8%. So that's where the Hancock Amendment kicked in at that 5% cap. So that's why it rolled back just a little bit. And that's not a huge difference for us. I calculated it's approximately $25,000 that we are getting because of the rollback. So that's how that all works. So any questions about that?
Any questions?
The $3 million, is that a figure on the sheet that I'm just not seeing?
It's in a sentence.
It's in the
Yeah, sorry. It's not a column, it's in a
Sentence.
sentence.
Thank you,
Yeah.
yes.
Are there any other questions before we move to public comment?
can you just highlight for me again, so the Hancock Amendment, the 5% is based off of what?
It's just what's in the Constitution. So it's either 5% or the consumer price index, the rate of inflation,
Okay.
which that was 6.5% this year. So we didn't
Okay.
hit that as far as valuations, but we hit that 5%. I don't know where the 5% comes from. It's just what's in the Constitution.
In the state constitution.
Any other discussion before we move into public comment? No, any other questions? Okay. Public comment, this is separate from the public comment that you filled out the forms for, so this is specifically on the tax levy. We will only allow you to speak on the tax levy specifically, and it's the same rules, 3 minutes per person. So if you would like to speak on the tax levy, please feel free to kind of just line up over there. If not, we will go into a vote. All right, going once, going twice. All right, is there a motion to approve the tax levy as it is presented?
I will make that motion to approve the tax levy at the presented rate at 0.1861.
Okay, I hear a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. Trustee Alexander?
Aye.
Trustee Brazil?
Aye.
Trustee Hagan?
Aye.
Trustee Szynski?
Aye.
All right. Thank you guys for doing that. Board packet, Echo.
So you'll forgive me, I type my notes so that I get through it. Wanted to share some thoughts, but fellow trustees, I want to thank you for your commitment and dedication each one of you extends to our common purpose of enriching our community's knowledge and literacy. What an honor to continue work of so many have come before us in the last 63, almost 67, I think in September, years of this library. I think about the ways that our community members have served in that time to make Christian County Libraries the incredible thing that it is today. Looking back over even just the last 1 year, this meeting has grown from little to no citizen involvement to packed rooms, no chairs left in the facility, overflowing with those seeking to continue this improvement. I know that this board and executive director are committed to bringing solutions, solving problems, even challenging ones, being excellent representatives of those in our respective townships. Today I'd like to discuss a proposition that I believe can foster deeper connections with the community that we serve and elevate that visibility of the impactful work that we're undertaking here at our libraries. In an effort to further our commitment to transparency, I propose that we make our Board of Trustee packets publicly available. By sharing this information and compilation of insights and updates, we can give our community members and patrons a holistic view into the heart of our operations. In my estimation, this move will serve a number of valuable purposes. As you are aware, the board packets encompass informational materials that we, the board, receive to review and help inform our work, decisions, and ultimately our votes and action. While some of these documents are available to the public upon request, I believe that we can do a better job of making all relevant materials more easily available in a way to demonstrate that the board is transparent in its operations and decisions. The board packet is more than just about our business. They also encapsulate just some of the highlights of the great work being done by staff, volunteers, and these libraries. The executive director's report, which forms a vital part of this packet, is a testament to the excellence in the ongoing initiatives, innovations, and achievements. Sharing this report more readily with the public will help illuminate and the dedication and diligence that goes into managing our libraries, fostering a deeper appreciation for our work. As your newly elected treasurer, I believe that financial transparency is crucial in building trust and understanding with the communities that we serve. By revealing the operational health of our financials of our library, we give our taxpayers a clear view of how funds are being utilized. This gesture of openness further demonstrates our commitment to judicious use of public funds and encourages a stronger sense of ownership among our community members. The inclusion of details regarding public commentary, testimony, and educational materials provided to the board underscores our mission to engage our community actively. It reaffirms our openness to feedback and the value we place on public input, making it evident that we're a listening and learning organization. In making these packets publicly available, we not only adhere to the principles of transparency and inclusivity, we also underscore our unwavering commitment to the community that we serve. It is indeed a step toward a more engaged, informed, and participatory relationship with our patrons and stakeholders. It will also go a long way in serving those who might be unable to attend these meetings and see the presentations and hear these discussions happening. Drawing from my personal experience attending many of these meetings over the past year, I can attest to the challenge that audience members often face viewing the displaying information, particularly from the public seating area, at no fault of the libraries, just based on the logistics of these rooms. Providing this documentation directly on our website, I believe, will significantly improve the insight to the trustees' decision-making process and materials influencing their votes. Removing unnecessary barriers and staff time will allow the ease of this self-serve solution. Seems like a simple way to achieve this end. In doing so, we send a clear message about our devotion to open dialogue, public service, and community partnership. I trust that you will join me in this endeavor for the collective good of our community and continued growth and success of the Christian County Public Library. Therefore, I'd like to put forward a motion. I move to make the Board of Trustee packets along with public comment forms, any received written testimonials, any handouts from public comment available on the library website as a separate attachment in addition to the minutes. I move that this change goes into effect starting in July of 2023 meeting materials with redaction of the home addresses that packet contained.
Any questions, discussion, from any members of the board?
Do we need a second in order to discuss? If it doesn't receive a second, I don't think we need to discuss.
So they might have questions or before they want a
Sure.
second.
Are there any logistical issues with making the information available? A clarifying question.
Yeah.
Make it available prior to the meeting or after the meeting?
Great question. I would say after.
After.
Absolutely.
Right.
Knowing that the
There's
public
information
comments,
we're getting after the
these
meeting.
sheets
Okay.
exactly are not available prior. So yeah, absolutely. I think in the same timing as the minutes, whenever that's appropriate to publish.
Is it possible to make the trustee packet that we get emailed? Is there any logistical challenge with making that available prior to the meeting so the folks who are attending will know what we're talking about?
They get the agenda
Okay.
prior to the meeting,
Okay.
so they do know that.
That's a good question.
My question would be, and this is probably, I don't know if it's an issue or not, if we have something in the packet that we decide to change and edit and vote with a change made to it, is there an issue with that particular document potentially getting out with people thinking that that's the document that we agreed to when in reality there were
That makes sense,
changes
yeah.
made?
It could be, the minutes would reflect the changes.
I'm just wondering out of context.
But yeah, out of context, that would be the concern. We can put like draft on everything.
Yes,
like as a
draft or
watermark.
subject to change.
Or like something about like for complete records, like see the minutes or something
So
like that.
this
We
would
can-
all be the
we
issue with
can
getting it out
work
before
on
the meeting versus
Oh,
after.
yeah.
If we did it after, we could put out the
It would be
voted on the
full,
approved.
yeah.
Adopted.
Is that what yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions about this before we move into?
Just a slight concern. I think that your suggestion is really a good one, barring no logistical issues with getting it out there. I appreciate the transparency. The only thing that gives me a bit of pause that I might want to think about a bit more is releasing the public comment information out there. And the caveat to that is that we may want to make an adjustment to the request form. That if you make a public comment, or if you submit for a public comment, your information will be shared online for the community to see.
And also that this would, there are occasions in the past because of decisions, like hiring practices or some closed-door meetings regarding the building and structures. This would only be able to apply to the open meetings, not to, we very seldom have closed-door meetings, but we have had them once or twice because they were in-house financial personnel logistics. And I would want to make sure they understood that isn't like we're trying to keep secrets, but it's legally supposed to be a private matter. are there any legal objections to our information being shared post meetings?
Not that I know of, it's all public record anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, the information
It's all
is
available.
currently
I was gonna say,
available.
it is, I thought it was already available,
It's not
so.
even sunshine, it's requested via email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we currently have a link in the minutes, I believe, where people can click to request it.
Okay, so it is available at present online. I thought it was.
Well, it's not posted online.
You have to
There's a
request
link to
it.
You have to
request it.
press the link, okay. So, what way would be the most efficient for library personnel to handle this matter and for people to have accessibility?
I think we already post the minutes, so my thinking was just post it kind of in a packet with the minutes.
Okay.
But if I run into any problems with that, I
We'll
can
make adjustments?
check.
Okay, sounds good.
On that note, is there a second for the board packets to be public? I'm going to reread this so you guys know what you're seconding. The motion was to make the Board of Trustees packet along with public comment forms, any received written testimonies, and handouts from public comment available on the library website as a separate attachment in addition to the minutes. I move that this change goes into effect starting from July 2023 meeting materials with redaction of the home addresses that packet contained, because I can't move anything.
Can we amend that to redact the phone numbers as well? I think probably most of the public commenters probably don't want their phone numbers out for everybody to see.
Well, and yeah, my question is, you're not putting out people's names and information.
Well, it's in the minutes. It is in the
It's in the
minutes.
minutes.
I just verified. So we are providing the minutes, but what is missing from that is the agenda item or topic, as well as
Any handouts?
any handouts that they
Okay.
provide.
So people will know these people had a chance to speak, they had a chance to present their information, and this has been shared information.
Question, what is the library using the phone numbers and emails for now? I guess policy-wise, why are we requesting those details?
We don't require them, some people don't fill them out. It's really, if there's a follow-up needed, we have
Public
information
comments,
on
they
that.
have the names, okay. Thank you. I know I've read that, but I didn't stick.
Yeah, I think if that's appropriate to redact personal contact information that's
Yeah.
intended to be provided for
Just
library purposes.
Keep it
that's-
as is.
The names and the commentary is, I think, the intent of it, not necessarily people's home phone numbers. So.
And you guys are gonna have a lot of surprising phone calls.
Yeah, is it acceptable to second with the caveat that we revise the public comment request form to include that that information provided here will be shared on the Christian County Library website with the phone number and email redacted?
I'm going to ask you, Echo, I'm going to read this again, and if you're okay with it, if you would motion what I read so that you're making the motion for that. To make the Board of Trustees packet along with public comment forms, any received written testimonies, and handouts from public comments available on the library website as a separate attachment in addition to the minutes. I move that this change goes into effect starting from the July 2023 meeting materials with redaction of home address, phone number, and email that packet contained.
And redaction of phone number and email.
Yeah, I said
The
phone
public
number, address, phone
commentary.
number, and email. Yes.
Yep, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Trustee Alexander.
Aye.
Trustee Brazil.
Aye.
Trustee Hagan.
Aye.
Trustee Sosinski.
Aye.
All right, motion passed. Thank you. For bringing that to our attention.
Excellent.
Allison, you have written down.
Yes.
I made notes on it, and I have the whole thing, so yes, I'll get that to you. Okay.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Echo.
We are now going to move into public comment. As per the board's updated public comment policy as a general rule, the board will not respond to public comments at the time they are made. The board may ask clarifying questions, comment, or take action at their discretion. Questions for staff about library operations should be made during normal business hours. Now, as you guys know, it's a 3-minute speaking. We have a 30-minute time limit on public comments. We have 11 people who have signed up for public comments. Math is my worst subject, but I do know that that does not balance. So if I call your name and you feel like you have either someone has already said what you were going to say, or you feel like you've been able to make your point at another meeting, or you just want to can fit it in under 3 minutes, or you want to waive your time, whatever it is, please let me know at that point. I'm going to try my darndest to get all of 11 of you in there if we can possibly. I'm going in order that they were signed up. That is the order I'm sticking to. And so I am going to start with Elizabeth Dudash-Buskirk.
Hi there, I'm Elizabeth Dudash-Buskirk. Today, I guess I'm kind of for U-turn in education. I want to start with the radical idea that learning experiences are good for humans. To me, all books are learning experiences, and therefore, the more we can provide to our community, the greater opportunities for us all to learn. That's what this board has been doing, and I thank you. I thank you for the programs like Book Bag and everything that we heard about tonight that I cannot remember to list. Thank you for your good questions at our last meeting where you drew the public's attention to things that we did need to know and to learn about. There are a lot of taxpayers who want to read the books that we have the opportunity to read. We want to know that our school districts, our communities, our libraries have the best opportunities that can be provided. And no matter how much funding does or does not come our way, I want you all to know that not only do we trust you with our county libraries, we trust every librarian in our county to curate the best possible free public libraries. When I consider what makes our libraries free public libraries, it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that we do not pay to borrow books, media, or materials. Instead, as my father taught me in the Aliquippa, Pennsylvania Public Library where I went as a child, and it is now the only building that still stands in that ghost town, I've learned this, that it needs to be free of abridgment based on any one ideology, free for anyone and everyone to choose their educational experiences, and free of the fear and the threat that our libraries will no longer exist. Thank you for your work.
Deborah Spindle.
I wanted to speak to the library board members today, old and new, to address some concerns that I have. At the May Board of Trustee meeting, it was suggested to the public that there are procedures in place that would assist citizens in expressing concern about the materials in the library. That process, the request for reconsideration form, is found deep within the bowels of the policy manual listed on the library website. It was further suggested by the member-at-large trustee that this process has often not been followed. I wonder how often the board members review these reconsideration requests personally. In response to this valid point, I have since turned in multiples of these request forms, taking weeks to check out the material, read it cover to cover, and meticulously fill out the forms I then printed. I turned in my forms to the library in person on June 22nd to Nixa library staff. As of yesterday, the policy manual stated that typically responses are to be expected within a 4 to 6 week time span. But after double checking that policy today, I see that timeline has been removed. I am nearly 9 weeks post-submission with 0 response. At the June board meeting, a change in policy was implemented due to a new Missouri state statute detailing that the reconsideration request be posted publicly. I have searched the library web pages, also known as the bowels of the policy manual, and again, find no response to my request. If I have missed the public posting of these forms, please inform me. This had me wondering, has the library ever acted on a reconsideration request? I asked the library via a sunshine request for this very information on the dates between January 2020 and June 2023. Only one result. According to the response sent by the executive director, the sole reconsideration request form was submitted December 2022, and the response from the library was submitted January 5th, 2023. So it is possible for library staff to respond to these requests in a timely manner. The policy change also included a new reconsideration form. I would hope that the forms I submitted in June would have been grandfathered into the system, but in case this was the reason for the lack of response to my submission, I printed off new forms and filled them out again to hand to the board in hopes that they may be expedited in light of the circumstances. To avoid an outburst at this meeting, I will not be passing them to citizens here, but for those interested, this will be available at rightstowinozarks.com for transparency. We are craving. I asked the members of the board, what now are we to do when the processes the citizens have been accused of not following are in fact not followed by library staff? I'd love to hear further avenues of action for the many concerned citizens to have their voices heard. Thank you.
Reggie Meacham.
Good evening. I come again from a pastor's viewpoint. We've been doing this for the last 9 months. You know, 1 Timothy 5:22, Paul said not to be partakers of other men's sins or take part in the sins of others. And us being forced to pay for these books with our taxpayers' money, a lot of people does not like that. History has a way of repeating itself. The gays and the homosexuals could learn a valuable lesson from Sodom and Gomorrah. You can read it in Genesis chapter 19 if you're interested. Also in Romans chapter 1. Historians tell us there was probably 45,000 people lived in those 5 cities. If they could come back from the dead, they'd be lined up from here to Ozark getting in this meeting, screaming at you to get something done about these books. I was in a store here the other day, and a man probably 25 years old had his little daughter. I went to the restroom. He was standing there in between the doors, and he sent his little daughter in, and she hollered back out at him. Said, "Daddy, you still there?" He hollered back at her. I said, "Sir, let me ask you a question." He looked at me and I said, "What would you do if a man dressed up like a woman followed your little daughter into that bathroom?" He looked at me and he said, "That's not going to happen." I came downstairs a couple of weeks later at a meeting at Ozark Courthouse, went to the men's restroom, and an Ozark police officer was in there. And I asked him almost the same question. I said, "Sir, what would you do if you got a phone call and some man had followed a little girl into a restroom, especially if it was a mother and she couldn't do anything about it?" He said, "Sir," he said, "I hope that never takes place here in Ozark, Missouri." You know, I want to encourage you. We've got 2 new faces here. Didn't have to be that way, but we've worked with you, tried to, for the last 9 months. And a wise person will learn from their own mistakes, but a yet wiser is going to learn from the mistakes of others. We want to encourage you, work with us. It's a bad feeling when you wake up one morning and realize you've let Satan use you to destroy lives, especially when it's the lives of little children. If you don't have enough backbone to stand up for the children, resign. Let somebody else take your place that does. These children, we need to stand up for them. These pedophile, transgender books are sickening, they're sin, and you don't even have to be a Christian to know that they're not good. And I just want to encourage you, work with us, because if you don't, we can soon have 3 new
Thank
members.
you. John Garrity.
Thank you. So, as I've been attending the library board meetings for the last several months, what I'm mostly hearing is our limitations. For example, we can't implement rating systems because there isn't a nationally recognized rating system, or we don't have enough people to implement the rating system, or it's a violation of our First Amendment rights. I think there's a lot of confusion about the First Amendment. We have a Second Amendment also, but we don't let children go out and buy guns, right? So we're talking about protecting children here. It seems we cannot operate the library branches with less than 60 employees and a little over $3 million in budget. And now we purchased a $2.4 million property next door in which to house library staff and which will need renovations. Apparently, we can't respond back to book challenges in a timely manner or respond to sunshine requests with data in a readable format. So I'd like to talk about what are the possibilities of things we can do. We can implement policies that will protect children from inappropriate material. We can place harmful materials outside of easy reach of young children. We can protect parental rights by letting parents decide what children see. Issuing library cards that prevent children from checking out sexually explicit material. Books inappropriate for children are cataloged inappropriately, and therefore they are placed within reach of vulnerable little ones. This could be partly corrected by using more traditional methods of cataloging. We're not talking about ratings, we're talking about cataloging, such as the Dewey Decimal System. The library as a resource is funded by the taxpayers. It is ludicrous that the library is operating contrary to what most citizens want. What we are looking for is the shortest path to a safe library for all patrons. I met with the executive director of the library, and she advised me that she was only responsible for the physical safety of the patrons who frequent the library. I assume she heard that from the lawyer. I informed her that her legal obligation does not meet the higher moral standard that we all should be living by. We have in all with materials dangerous to their mental and emotional well-being. I would love to see a proposal from the executive director to the Board of Trustees on how harmful materials will be restricted from minor access.
Thank you. Mary?
Yeah.
I just want to make a quick comment. I understand that some of these things are, people are going to agree, people are going to disagree. Please respect everyone that is speaking, and please respect the other patrons. I will do my best to tell patrons when they need to stop talking, when they need to stop responding. So I ask that nobody in the audience be doing that. That's not your responsibility. I don't want anyone in the audience to have that responsibility. So just wanted to put that out there. And I will end public comment if it does become an issue. Yes.
Point of order. Under Robert's Rules of Order, anybody speaking up here is addressing you, the chair, and not the body.
Yes.
Is that correct?
They should be addressing the...
You. I don't want to see anybody turning to the audience anymore. That's not appropriate under Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay.
Correct?
They're addressing us, but they are also speaking in a room. They can look...
It says that they will address the chair.
They're addressing the board, yes.
Okay. So they don't need to
But-
turn and have their presentation go to the audience. I mean, that's not progress. He's either talking to you or are they talking to us?
I don't
I
want
can
me
hear
to
it.
be stopping.
Yeah, we're not,
public
yeah,
comments
yeah,
for that.
So, okay, all right. Mary, go ahead.
Good evening. Back in December 2022, I approached the board about introducing a book rating system to help members of our community judge a book by its cover in response to Jay Ashcroft's library certification requirement for the protection of minors rule. Since that time, many Christian County residents have addressed the board and have expressed concern about the presence of books about gender ideology and sexuality in the children's and young adult sections in the libraries. Throughout the months of March and April, Lynn Morris, the Christian County Commissioner, held several town hall meetings throughout the county. Members of this board and our executive director attended the first meeting in March, and they heard over 20 Christian County residents state their concerns about the library and the sexualization of children. There were several citizens that spoke up at subsequent town hall meetings as well. In May of this year, the executive director presented a brief analysis in which she explained the challenges behind the implementation of a rating system in the Christian County libraries, and the following month the board voted down the rating system and offered no solution to the community's outcry for help. The library's policies continue to be the same. Minors are issued all-access library cards. We have books like This Book is Gay in the Ozark Young Adult Teen section, a how-to sex guide for kids where sex abuse is encouraged, tips on how to engage in anal sex are provided, guides on how two men or two women can pleasure each other, and so on. This Book is Gay has been on display in front of the children's section in the Nixa Library during Banned Book Week in the checkout counters of the Nixa and Ozark libraries. We have books like the Bare Naked book in the Ozark children's section where there are pictures of people with top surgery scars and women with beards. There was a display in the Sparta Library during the month of June under a Family Love banner featuring 16 books on non-traditional families and not one book with a nuclear family in that same display. We have other books on our shelves like the Big Bathhouse in the Nixa children's section where naked women with pubic hair are shown walking, standing, and lying down. To date, if an unescorted 9-year-old child has their own library card, they are allowed to check out one of the library's 793 R-rated movies at any of the library's 4 branches. Unescorted minors cannot go down the road to the movie theater to watch an R-rated movie without an adult present. We have a private institution with a profit motive doing more to protect minors in our community than a publicly funded library. That's a problem. Although the Christian County Library serves community members of all ages and backgrounds, there are too many books scattered throughout our libraries on sensitive topics like gender ideology, sexual activity, and sexual nudity with no warning to patrons in children's sections. This is not acceptable. Parents need a tool to determine if a book is well suited for their child's mental and emotional development. Advocating for age-appropriate designations on books doesn't make me a book banner. I'm not homophobic and I'm not transphobic. I want to make that clear. And I'm simply asking that community members' input be considered in developing age-appropriate designations for the Christian County Libraries.
Good evening, board, and thank you for the opportunity to speak and for your service in this important library work. I know that the idea of book labels has been discussed before, as recently as this past May and June, but since we have 2 new board members, as well as continuing interest from the public, I thought it would be wise to revisit the issue. 75% of parents believe their child had never encountered porn, but of those children, 53% reported that they had in fact seen porn. Of the adolescents who had been exposed to pornography, 28% said they were exposed to it by accident. 19% were unexpectedly shown pornography by someone else, and only 19% had searched for it intentionally. Half of boys, around 53%, and over a third of girls, 39%, reported believing that pornography was a realistic depiction of sex. If you have ever viewed pornographic or obscene material, can you remember your first time? It's a sad memory, isn't it? Most parents and guardians want to delay, for as long as possible, the first time their children see pornographic or obscene material. And I bet they don't want their children to see it at all in the library. This board could help thousands of parents in our community who feel this way by adding a simple label to books with obscene or pornographic sexual content that are in the children's or young adult sections of our library. And labels are not a new concept for this library. They already exist. You can go out in the book stacks and see stickers on books with themes such as mystery, romance, Christian, sci-fi, and historical. Adding a new label, something like parent/guardian review recommended, to books with overt sexual content would be easy. All it takes is courage and fortitude. I've prepared an outline, which I'll give you for this process, and it shows a minimum investment of time and cost. And last month, we heard that there are plenty of library funds available for new projects, just in case it's needed. This sounds like a good use of these funds, and I'm happy to help with this project if you move forward.
My name is Jeannie Coburn, and this is my first time to be at this board meeting. First of all, I want to tell you that I assume you all are volunteers, am I correct? You're not paid for this position, and I appreciate the fact that you are doing this out of the goodness of your heart and for the betterment of the community of Nixa and Christian County. I have to say, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I deal with kids and adults of all ages. Some of what I've heard tonight is discouraging, because what I deal with are things such as sexual abuse from that happened to minors, that happened to adults when they were minors. And I can not tell you in a single example that it happened because of a book. All of the people that I have dealt with, it happened from someone that they actually know. And there were opportunities for others to intervene, and it didn't happen. Everything that you've heard today, I think, has been ideological. And I know that you're a process-oriented board. And while I know that people have certain strong opinions and feelings about things, we are all in a community. And I think seeking to understand each other is one of the most important things that we have to do here in this community, is to understand each other. That's not going to happen if people are outraged and so angry that they cannot hear other people's comments and things that they have to say. I would be happy to meet with any of you individually and share some of the stories that I've heard in my practice with some of the people. Obviously, I'm not sharing details to divulge any private information, but I can give you general ideas of things. This isn't about books. My concern with children is more about their access to guns, identifying when something has happened to them as sexual abuse, because I dealt with a girl not very long ago who's 12, who has been sexually abused by her mother for many years, did not realize that what was happening to her was sexual abuse until it was accidentally disclosed. It's heartbreaking just to hear what happens to kids and to people when they are sexually abused. Books are not the problem, that's not where it's coming from. It's coming from their contact with people that they know. And I would wonder how many books actually are checked out from the Christian County Library by younger children that are intended for older people. I don't know what kind of record we have for that.
Sheila Michaels.
Good evening, I am Sheila Michaels. I'm a community member and a mom and an educator, and I'm here to share tonight about my reading program, Book Bag, which occurred this summer in 2023. And I'm here to thank Christian County Library, specifically Nixa, but Christian County Library in general, for their support. This program was designed to fill that summer gap. As we all know, parents, educators, community members, there is a summer gap that children have of reading, of educational needs, of nutritional needs, of hygiene needs, and this program was designed to meet that. And this program was designed for any Christian County resident, family, child who came in with a parent to meet their specific needs. So I wanted to share a little bit about how many people we impacted this summer. We had over 700 visits to our program. We handed out $1,200 in school supplies to our families. We gave out over 2,700 books. We gave out 40 cases of snacks. We gave out 40 copies of Wonder to support the Christian County One Read initiative this summer. We gave out 350 hygiene kits to people who might need them and called them, hey, this is your summer travel kit. Why don't you take a travel kit in case you need it? We gave out 100 period kits that would last a girl or a woman a month with the period products that they needed. I want to publicly call out and thank the donors of this program. Christian County Library donated school supplies. YALSA, which is a division of ALA, donated $500 to the program. The Nixa Education Foundation donated $500 to the program. And Care to Learn of Nixa donated the money for all of the hygiene kits, period products, and the snacks. The books came from Nixa Public Schools, they came from private donors, and they came from publishers. Families from all walks of life, all ages, attended this program. In fact, I recognize some people in the room that were able to come and visit the program. One lady that I want to tell you about in particular was so excited because now she has a home library for her children, and she did not have that before. And we know that a community library is important, but a home and library is important as well. And on that last night where we handed out school supplies and snacks for children's lunches, over and over I heard the words, thank you, thank you. One lady said, thank you. This is gonna help with my kids' lunches so much. And I can't imagine a more important thing than that. So to Christian County Library, I want to say thank you. Thank you for making this possible. Thank you for your commitment to Christian County families. And thank you for making the library a place where all patrons are safe.
Thank you. Alicia? Sorry, I can't read their last name on here. Thank you for the help.
Sorry, I don't hear very well. Good evening. My name is Alicia. First, I'd like to say thank you to the library board for the opportunity to speak this evening. And secondly, I'd like to say thank you for all the library staff for all that the wonderful things that you do. I want to say that I support the public libraries and the work that you do to make all the citizens of Christian County and to make sure all the citizens of Christian County are served, not just the majority. What some, especially the loud, seem to forget is that all kinds of people live here and work here and vote here. All taxpayers of Christian County have a right to expect to use the services of the library and have books that address their families and their needs, even if some don't approve of them. Politicians are elected not only to serve the people who vote for them, but to serve all citizens. Yet they often forget that in their desire to keep their jobs over their call to service. Yet people expect teachers, librarians, the police, and other public employees to do their jobs tirelessly, disregarding when people attack them at meetings like these, and never stop doing their jobs serving the public. So I'm just here to say the folks here at the library continue to do a fabulous job despite being attacked sometimes at these meetings, and to just say I'm proud of you, each and every one of you, and we're lucky to have you here serving us all. So thank you.
Thank you. Did I butcher that again?
Oh, it's fine. Juanita, everybody does. It's okay. I'm actually here delivering a letter from my daughter, who is an amazing woman, very well spoken, and I'm sure that I won't read this as well as she would say it. I couldn't make it to the board meeting this evening. She's actually she's at a parent-teacher conference getting one of her kids into school. I couldn't make it to the board meeting this evening, but I have asked that this letter be read to address an ongoing concern. It has now been several months since I was made aware of sexually explicit material age-targeted to children in our local library. As of the time I'm writing this letter, the material is still on the shelves. I don't understand why nothing has been done to move this material away from little kids. At the last board meeting, two of the speakers suggested that this pornographic material was not the issue, but instead the parents are the issue, that parents should stay with their children to be sure that they don't pick up the disputed material. I would like to clear the air. I am one of these mothers, and my children are in 3 separate age groups. One child reads from the picture book section, one from the juvenile section, and the other from the young adult section. After realizing that these pornographic books reside in our library, my children have not returned. This is not a safe place for children as long as hundreds of titles residing in minor age-targeted areas of the library make it just as likely that they will pick up the equivalent of a Penthouse magazine as a piece of actual classic literature. So how am I supposed to stay with all 3 children at one time? Should we stay huddled together, keeping their eyes down to be sure they don't see the explicit material that is placed like landmines in the library? This is nonsense for children to not be safe in a publicly funded library. Sexual material in the hands of children harms them. I would like to leave you with a quote attributed to Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a pastor during the years leading up to World War II. Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. God will not hold us guiltless. Bonhoeffer was one of 3,000 pastors out of the total 18,000 pastors in Germany who spoke out against Nazi interference in the German church. He ultimately gave his life for daring to speak the truth. To the board members who spoke truth at the last board meeting, who dared to say that pornographic material in the hands of children is unacceptable, thank you. I've been praying for you and will continue to pray for your wisdom and perseverance. To the board members who refrained from answering, to quote Bonhoeffer, not to speak is to speak. My prayer for you is that God will change your heart and that you will choose to speak truth. Otherwise, I respectfully hope that you will resign from your position to allow someone to take your place who better reflects the values of our community. The first time I came to, well, I'm almost done. I remember listening to someone who was not here on the board. I felt patronized, lectured at, very smug and condescending, and that can't be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Holly? I want to thank you guys for being quick, and as you have been, we've been able, she's number 11, and we're going 1 minute over, but I'm going to allow it so that we can get through this, so thank you all.
Last night, I shouldn't be looking at you. Last month, when I was here, I felt an atmosphere of fear and hatred in this room. Not in this room, but at the other room. I still feel some of that today, and I understand the issues with fears for your children. But I don't see that books or libraries are the problem. When I listen to the news, I hear about drug use, violence and bullying in schools, and suicide rates, which, surprisingly enough, is the second leading cause of death for young adults today in this country. And the hate that I have felt, I'm afraid, is from some of the, has been for the LGBT community, which I do not understand. When I was a child, I was taught that we should love our fellow man and help those who were in need, not hate them. And I am hearing that by some of the people in this room. I don't feel that we should blame people who have no choice what their sexual preferences are. Scientists are agreed on the fact that sexual orientation is not a choice, and no one is indoctrinating your kids. I don't know who would want to do such a thing. And I have to admit, my oldest brother was gay, so I have a personal concern here. He was bullied as a child. He was called names. He was beat up. And generally, he felt like an outcast most of his life. And he did attempt suicide at least once. So LGBT people are a minority in this society, and they are often treated poorly, mainly because they are different from the rest of us. Public libraries are free and open to the entire community, but we are not a church and not a person's house. The books you find offensive, some people have found offensive, have actually helped my brother, could have helped my brother if they had been around like 60 years ago, but they weren't. There wasn't even a young adult section back in the old days. But if you do read a book, I do think people should be able to fill out the reconsideration form, which I know for a fact the libraries do review and do look at the objections and consider the request and do eventually get back to you. That's all really I have to say, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. It is 7:10, this meeting is adjourned.